Hello everyone, this is POW Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about hurricane watches are posted along the Texas coast for Nicholas, along with a rare high risk for excessive flooding, then a multi-day severe weather event. So if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. This is your latest satellite picture for Nicholas in the Gulf of Mexico on September 13th. And man, it's really blossomed overnight. You got a lot of the colder cloud tops, and it's actually not that far away from land currently right now. It's only about 45 miles, as this thing was really expected to be a coastal hugger, but it's got a lot of deep tropical moisture with it, and it's going to dump some very excessive rains over the next several days. So let's take a look at the latest track. I put on the Brownsville radar here, and what happened overnight, it actually took a noticeable jump to the northwest. It actually kind of reformed its center about 175 miles northwest. And what that did was obviously placed it a lot closer to land now. And so this center is technically only about 45 miles away from Brownsville currently. But the latest couple hours, it's actually kind of done a little loop. You can notice that all the activity is on the dirty side. It's on the east side. So it's kind of well away from the center, which was expected. That's why it's going to dump all that very heavy rain. You can definitely see the outer bands are already impacting Corpus Christi. And if you put it further north, it's already impacting Houston and to Sugar Land with some very heavy rain already. And this is expected kind of skirt along the coast. I mean, the hurricane hunters are flying into the storm right now, but the thing of it is, it actually has slowed down, which is not a good sign, to literally 5 miles an hour. And the outer bands are already on shore. You can definitely see they've got hurricane watches already posted for portions of the Texas coast. It is currently a 60-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It is expected to bump up another 10 miles an hour to a 70-mile-per-hour hurricane. That's why they went ahead and a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. That's why they went ahead and implemented the hurricane watches actually yesterday, just because if it bumps up another 5 miles an hour, which is certainly possible, if it's able to stay over the open waters, it could make landfall as a hurricane. But the impacts aren't going to be any different from a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm or a 75-mile-per-hour hurricane whatsoever. The main impact from this system is going to be the very significant heavy rainfall expected with this system. Now, the new timing on this actually would bring it possibly on shore a little bit sooner now. So we're talking possibly even as early as tonight that it could make landfall. Then it continues moving off as a coastal hugger. And that was what was the main concern with this system as it arcs and as it feels the effects from this ridge. And look where it's at by Wednesday. It really doesn't really go that far away, and it just keeps pulling in that deep tropical moisture inland, and that's why they have those excessive rare flood watches. I mean, check this out. It doesn't happen very often. We actually seen this in the Northeast, but yes, another rare high risk flood for Bay City and to Freeport. So we're talking about excessive heavy rainfall, even a moderate risk on the outskirts of much of all of Houston Metro. Then you go a little bit further north, it's a little bit less to a slight risk, but we're talking a multi-day significant flood threat for along the Texas Gulf Coast. Now, how rare is a high risk? It's pretty rare. It only happens 4% of the days, and it actually happened in the Northeast just recently. And you know what happened in the Northeast, so that's why you have to take this very seriously. 41% of all flood related fatalities happen on high risk days, and 92% of all flood related damages happen on high risk days. So this is a very serious threat. You need to take this very seriously because we've got a significant flood threat on the table, and it's coming ashore right now, and it's going to be impacting over the next several days. Here's the latest update from the National Weather Service in Houston. So yes, they've got extremely heavy rain. A good 10 to 15 inch swath is no question. These isolated amounts of 15 to 20 inches, we're talking 3 to 4 inch per hour rainfall rates is very doable in this situation, if not maybe even a little higher at times. So rains like that for 7 hours straight, you get these convective bandings. 7 hours at 3 inches an hour, that's 20 inches already. It can add up in a big way. I've seen it multiple times down here in Houston. This is basically about the equivalent of what actually happened in 2016 on, say, the Memorial Day weekend in the Houston metro. So just to kind of give you an idea of possibly what to expect. This is by no means a Harvey type situation. If we calculated the gallons, it's about 4.7 trillion gallons of precipitation that's actually going to fall within Nicholas. What happened in Harvey? 33 trillion gallons. This is by no means a Harvey whatsoever, but this is still a significant event and it needs to be taken seriously. Here's the surge that could happen with Nicholas, anywhere from 2 to 4 feet. You see the wide spread of this because it's all on the dirty side. It's all on the right side as this pushes inland. And so, yeah, you could easily get a 2 to 4 foot storm surge as it makes landfall somewhere possibly around the Port O'Connor area. We could be looking at a little higher surge of 3 to 5 feet. But either way, along the coast, you're still going to be inundated with a good swath, the entire Texas coastline, and even into portions of Louisiana are still going to be feeling the effects of that storm surge. So if I kind of zoom out and what to expect, here's the latest from literally Brownsville all the way along the Texas, Louisiana coastline. Within the middle, you got from Corpus to basically Houma, under a moderate risk for excessive heavy rainfall. And there's that bullseye just in the far southern portions of the Houston metro along the coast with that very rare high risk for excessive flooding. But even spread it into portions of San Antonio, it could reach as far as Waco. It could reach as far as Shreveport. The main impacts is going to be a coastal hugger. So Dallas probably not going to get much of anything from this system because it feels the effects from that ridge to the north. And once it does that, it keeps it down to the south, funneling in that moisture. So you can see where it's at. Tuesday morning, again, high impacts. Wednesday morning, high impacts. This is a multi-day, 3-day event. It could be even lasting longer into Thursday as this continues pushing off towards Louisiana by then. Probably not a tropical entity, but still a low pressure dumping very heavy rain over Louisiana. So if we zoom out, we even have more going on in the tropics, not just from Nicholas, but we have this other wave that's out down here by the Bahamas currently right now. The National Hurricane Center gives it a 50% probability over the next couple of days as it continues lifting off northwest, going into a little bit more favorable type of environment. We have yet a very high probability of a tropical wave forming off the coast of Africa. This is probably going to form into a tropical storm, and all indications continue pushing off to the west, but this is a long ways out, so we got plenty of time to watch this particular system. So let's go to the north. Let's go at what's happened in the United States. What's happening is we've got a strong ridge for much of the country and the middle part of the country. But underneath, we've got that trough. That's where Nicholas is, and it's trapped between those two ridges of high pressure. So not only is it trapping Nicholas, but it's actually helping Nicholas it actually kind of maybe deepen and actually help maybe this tropical system down here in the Bahamas also deepen as well. While to the north, in the far extreme northern along Canada, we've got conveyor belts of troughs. As these conveyor belts of troughs come across, it's going to kick off rounds of severe weather. And we're looking at a multi-day severe weather event for portions of the U.S. So let's tap into that. So now we've got a slight risk. This is for today, Monday, September 13th. We've got a slight risk for severe weather as these troughs kick off rounds of severe weather into New York again. We're talking New York, New Jersey, Jersey City, getting into Yonkers, getting into Patterson with that slight risk for very severe weather. We're talking strong winds, we're talking some hail, probably even a little isolated tornado threat as well, even down into Houston. It's a known fact you could be getting tornadoes and on the east side of tropical systems. We've seen it so many times this year of getting little spin up tornadoes is not out of the question. And so into Philly, into Detroit, into Milwaukee, into even extending all the way into Denver with that trough running across. Now let's take a look at the tornado threat. They've actually increased the tornado threat down in Corpus to the Houston metro to a 5% probability of seeing a tornado along with this system. So that is an increasement from what was happening just this morning into League City, into Galveston, into Pearland, into Texas City, into Friendswood. So yeah, it's probably expected to come inshore around Corpus Christi, but on the right side where all the dirty side is, that's where you're probably a little bit higher probability of seeing some of those tornadoes later on today. And we have a small pocket up here, down here in southern portions of Minnesota and portions of Wisconsin here that could pick up possibly an isolated tornado. So not just today, but tomorrow too. This continues into tomorrow as we have those multiple troughs coming across, right? So now tomorrow the setup is in Detroit. It's in Toledo. It's in Fort Wayne. It's going into Warren. So all those areas will be under the gun. It's all the way down into Chicago again. Yes, Houston still under the gun for that marginal risk for severe weather. Probably Nicholas will be inland by then. So the intensity has gone down as far as, like, say, the wind, but the rain is still there. And yes, the threat is still there for an isolated tornado or two is not out of the question, as this would continue shifting off into the east. There's your tornado threat for on Tuesday. Yes, still Houston, now swinging over into Lake Charles area, into Houma. I know a lot of people are stationed in Houma right now doing recovery efforts for Ida. So that, and then one of the guys texted me and said, hey, I'm staying in a tent. All the hotels are full. Should I head back to Dallas? I said, absolutely. Head back to Dallas, maybe come back this weekend. So it's one of those situations where you're just gonna have to, move out and move in and be safe and do what you can. I mean, it's very active right now. We're still doing with the cleanup with Ida down here, but we have another storm approaching, and we're talking excessive heavy rainfall and tornado. It's not a good environment to stay out in a tent by no means whatsoever. And then you're getting into the Northeast as well with that tornado threat, with that second band coming in on Tuesday. But yeah, now let's transition into Wednesday. Again, it's almost like deja vu. We dealt with this with Mindy just last Wednesday for the Northeast with these conveyor belts of fronts, and Larry was well offshore, right? But now we have a setup that's coming across with the troughs and the leftover instability that's coming in from Nicholas. So now we've got a severe weather threat again for the Northeast on Wednesday for Pittsburgh, Springfield, into Manchester, into Albany. And even though this is a slight risk right now, a lot of the dynamics, this is a day 3 event, this easily could be expanding. This is probably the bigger risk day, even though it's maybe not implying that right now because this is a 3-day out from the SPC. But I do expect this to expand and to almost kind of maybe intensify and be a little bit more severe than what it's actually showing currently right now. So I am expecting a fairly significant day coming up for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast and parts of the Ohio Valley coming up on Wednesday. So now let's take a look at the tropics. Here's now between now and Sunday. So covering a 7-day outlook. Yeah, there's Nicholas coming ashore. It's going to peter itself out. There's that system across the Bahamas that hopefully with these troughs coming across, hopefully it's going to keep it offshore. It depends on the timing with these troughs and cold fronts, right? But right now, the latest guidance has it just offshore, and it keeps it well away from land, as this system that has the high probability right now of forming will be a storm. And as it continues lifting off, and look where it could possibly be, that's even from a week from now. So that's just, there's no threat to land whatsoever currently, but it's definitely something to watch as we continue beyond this week. So closer in after Wednesday, this is what Thursday would look like. There's Nicholas coming across as it feels the effects of that ridge and those boundaries. Now it's putting all the heavier rain over Louisiana again, into Mississippi, into Alabama. As those troughs come across and the cold front will still bring some leftover showers to portions of the Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, and the Northeast as we're really clear out west, right? So now let's take a look at Friday. One noticeable change is we got some welcome rain coming back for the Pacific Northwest. It starts off in Washington on Friday, but then it'll actually trickle down and get into Oregon and parts of Northern California as you go into the weekend, as we still have a very active Gulf, and that convective banding still pushing heavier rains in much of the southeast as this would extend as these come across with these cold fronts. And there's the outlook for Saturday. That rain just pushes now into Oregon. So the welcome rains come back for places like, say, Portland, and you'll see the heavier rains come back. Unfortunately, we don't have much of anything for rain prospects for much of California or central or southern California in the desert Southwest. A lot of the instability continues to be off east and where those troughs set up further north as we have a really active time. And let's go to Sunday. So Sunday, kind of the same deal. Continues wet for the Northwest, stays dry for the West and Southwest and much of the central part of the country, as this really active Gulf really still pulls in tropical moisture and just kind of rains itself with sporadic afternoon showers and thunderstorms. There's the outlook for the next 7 days. Yeah, all these areas down here could easily pick up 15 to 20 inches, no question. Yeah, there's still, short range, high resolution data models. Isolated spots could pick up 30 inches. A 30-inch amount is not out of the question coming out of this particular event somewhere along the Texas Gulf Coast or somewhere along Louisiana by the time Thursday rolls around, after this is all kind of done itself. But yeah, this is a dangerous system. But look at the welcome rains coming in. These are actually multi-inch. This isn't just a little shower or two. These are actually good multi-inch rains coming in possibly this weekend for much of Washington, and then maybe a little bit lesser amounts into Oregon. Does feed into a little bit into Northern California, but a lot of the setup's going to be where those troughs are going to set up with those conveyor belts of severe weather over that multi-day event, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then hopefully this system off the Bahamas will be safely offshore as it shows right now, and it doesn't push further inland as the week progresses. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.